So today I want to talk a little bit more about Azur Promilia and the lack of information especially we English-speaking players are experiencing right now, and why that is actually quite concerning. As you may know, Azur Promilia is being developed by Manju Network, a company that also created Azur Lane, a fairly popular gacha mobile game. And with Azur Lane, Manju actually released that game for Chinese and Japanese players first, and 1 year later for the global player base. And since they are only mentioning Azur Promilia officially on Chinese websites for Chinese players, it is quite concerning that they might do the same for Azur Promilia, where they release the game first for Chinese and Japanese players and 1 year later for the global community. And yes, in fact, we do have an Azur Promilia YouTube channel where the 2 official trailers were uploaded. The problem with this channel is very simple, that this is not an official channel and the 2 trailers have been leaked to us, the global community. If we head over to the official Azur Lane channel, we can see they do link quite a few socials and all of them start with Azur Lane official, Twitter, website, Facebook, whatever, right? They do have quite a few videos as well, so they are quite active and link other official channels. If we head over to Azur Promilia, this channel has only the 2 trailers and their socials they are linking are just saying website, TikTok or Twitter and not Azur Promilia official. Also, they do not link other official YouTube channels. So Manju isn't actually mentioning Azur Promilia officially for global players, just for Chinese players right now. And if Azur Promilia will actually be released for China or maybe even Japan first and 1 year later for everybody else, that is quite a big problem. Because Azur Promilia is actually a story, or is going to be a story heavy game. Releasing such a game first in one region not only deters players because they don't want to wait another year, no, they might get spoiled. The story might be spoiled to them, character kits might be spoiled to them, and let's be honest, nobody wants to play 1 year old content after many other players already went through it. And of course, doing such a thing of releasing a video game first for just one country or maybe even 2 is definitely going to reduce your chances of getting a big title out there, which we don't want, or at least I don't want for Azur Promilia, because again, those trailers looked amazing and more competition for Hoyoverse, which is basically a monopoly right now for big gacha games, is always better for the player. Of course, it's no secret that the Chinese and Japanese video game or gacha game market is by far the biggest. So it's obvious that they will target these 2 countries first and then all the other countries in the world. But there might actually be a light at the end of the tunnel. Because if we head over to the official English Manju website, they not only mention Azur Lane, but Azur Promilia as well. And they do link the official Azur Promilia website, which already has been translated to English. And even more important, we can actually pre-register for the game, which wouldn't make sense if only Chinese and Japanese players are going to play this game first and then 1 year later everybody else. So that is actually quite good news and gives me hope that this game will have a actual global release for everybody at the same time. Now, while there is barely any new information being leaked about Azur Promilia, I was in fact able to find a little bit of new leaked information about Azur Promilia and its current state. So there's no story being spoiled or character kits, don't worry. As well as a new PlayStation PV released on Chinese forums that you were able to see in the background of this video. Of course, this being leaked from a Chinese website, the translation won't be perfect, some meanings may be lost or changed because of the translation. According to the news from the Inner Ghost group, the game has started a secret confidential level internal beta test. This is very nice to hear. The game is still making progress and they actually started to test the game, probably very small scale, just to see if the game is running properly. In a previous video, we actually talked about an official statement from Manju where they mentioned multiple tests for Azur Promilia, and it's nice to see that they actually have already started with these tests. The maps should be interoperable, however, Jingyuan, and Jingyuan in this case doesn't have anything to do with Honkai Star Rail or any characters from there, it's just the translated name for Azur Promilia from Chinese to English. However, Azur Promilia has flying pets, ground pets, and underwater pets. So we will actually be able to ride these monsters that we have already seen and use them as mounts, just as in Palworld. Because the speed of the pets is too fast, therefore the teleportation point was cancelled and only the teleportation between town centers was retained. So we won't actually have as many teleportation points as with Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, and we will rely more on our mounts, to ride our pets. And a nice bonus is that they are mentioning town centers, plural, so they are talking about 2 or more centers, 2 or more towns, and probably 2 or more regions that are already in the game. Let me tell you a little secret again. There are many Sky Islands and Flying Kibo in Azur Promilia. So now we actually finally know how these little monsters are called. They're called Kibo, not Pokemon and not pals. Or at least for now they are called Kibo, right? Players riding pets can engage in aerial combat. This can enhance players' aerial combat experience with flying pets. However, considering the balance of ground riding pets, restrictions will be placed on the flight of flying riding pets in underground caves, and underground cities to achieve a balance with ground riding pets. So they're just basically going to balance flying pets so they aren't just straight up stronger than normal ground riding pets because they can already fly. That is quite an advantage, especially in combat, right? So they're just going to balance that properly. Let me reiterate to you that this game only draws cards for characters. Weapons can be obtained through exploration of the big world, blueprints, and mining and forging. Pets can be obtained by hatching pet eggs through exploring the big world and breeding them in the home. Star weapons are randomly dropped by consuming daily star sources, challenging elite monsters through single-player dungeons or multiplayer team dungeons, and being dropped randomly from bosses. The attributes of weapons, pets, and star weapons are randomly improved through upgrades. So there's quite a bit of very important information right here at the end, where they are saying there's only going to be a gacha system for getting characters. And actually, Manju did the same thing for Azur Lane, their previous game. Because in Azur Lane, we will only be able, or we only can pull for characters. Not for weapons, not for any other armor or gear, just characters. And it looks like they're planning to do the same thing for Azur Promilia, which sounds very, very nice. But of course, we are still waiting, or we still have to see how the rates are going to be. Weapons, on the other hand, and probably everything else that we can get, is or can be obtained by just exploring the world, doing stuff. Even multiplayer isn't being mentioned right here, which is very nice. It's going to be very interesting how that is going to play out. Of course, I am always hoping for some sort of deep, connected guild system and not just the multiplayer Genshin Impact had to offer, which was pretty lackluster, to be honest, and wasn't much fun. You could do everything else alone. There wasn't a real reason to play multiplayer in Genshin Impact. So I hope they will do something different in Azur Promilia. And they were also mentioning star weapons. Now, star weapons, we have no clue what that might be. That could be it's a special or higher rarity weapon, or it's just a weapon for the main character or whatever. We don't know. We know there are going to be weapons and star weapons. We don't know the difference. Probably star weapons are maybe even a crafting material at the end of the day. Now, of course, Kibos are very important as well, because Azur Promilia does look like a mixture of Genshin Impact and Palworld, and getting eggs for these Kibos, getting new Kibos, is actually pretty similar to Palworld, where we have to explore the world and find eggs to hatch, or we can breed them at home whenever we have a certain building, I'm guessing. But of course, and this person is also mentioning it, the above plan does not represent the final version. Azur Promilia is still in fairly early stages of development and is still being developed, so things might change. Take everything with a grain of salt, but of course we now have a better view of what Azur Promilia is probably going to be like. And if you have any theories about anything, please tell me in the comments, leave a like, and I hope you enjoyed. I will see you soon.